Everyone needs to have this tool to protect their home and their loved ones. This new military flashlight.
Hey, what's up, everybody? We weren't really planning on posting a video today since we're working on a few big projects, but something pretty crazy happened and it made us really think. Basically, Moist Critical, Charlie, otherwise known on YT as Penguin Z0, just found out about Tartaria and our channel was mentioned by someone while he was on stream.
Check out the conspiracy about Tartarian. Is this another reptilian thing? We'll do Tartarian truth. Oh, it's an entire channel. Wait, what is it? I just want the basics. Tartarian truth. The lost city, the lost civilization of Tartaria. This is the truth about Tartaria.
God, I wish he was going to say Atlantis, but he's going to say Tartaria. So here's the thing that you need to understand when you come across old maps. The terminology we use to...
Oh, don't debunk it. Jesus, you're defeating the whole purpose. I want to learn about it. Who did you say covered it? Oh, absolutely not, Andy. That's done by a professional. By Mind Unveiled. 52 minutes, Jesus Christ, I just want the cliff notes. Holy shit, the Tartarians have 6 arms. Auxiliary sub-defensive and proxy. The Irish Connection. Where can I just get like a quick, concise breakdown of the Tartarians? The US Constitution is from Tartaria. With a name like that, how can I not at least check this out?
Okay, so for this first part of the explanation, I'm just gonna dive right in. And some of you who may be new to the channel, specifically after watching Charlie's video, may not be used to this certain style, and may demand immediate evidence after hearing such far-out concepts. But if you're patient, after explaining the main premise of Tartaria and what we're even discussing, we can go into more detail and provide supporting arguments after the initial brief explanation. Tartaria is the biggest conspiracy, meaning it's not an officially approved narrative, yet in terms of the implications and magnitude of the topics covered and the cognitive dissonance associated with it is so great, it could be rightfully considered the largest conspiracy. Essentially, it all begins with all our taught history being, for the most part, a lie. So much so that it's mind-numbing to even fathom. Sure, there are likely some truths sprinkled in there. I'm not saying that everything that has happened has been faked, but more likely that it was set up to play out in a specific way. What Tartaria boils down to is fabricated histories in stolen cities. For example, what if I was to tell you that New York, Chicago, or any other major United States American city for that matter, was not built in the manner that they tell us, and was actually already here in America before the European settlers? Imagine that our cities are just recycled. That would be too crazy, right? What proof is there to support such a claim? In order to demonstrate this, we would just have to dive into each city's history. And that's kind of the purpose of our City Unveiled videos. Literally a 5-hour documentary on a city, but for this instance, we can do Tampa. And shout out to Old World, Florida. There are the Ybor tunnels, where the mainstream story is that these are prohibition tunnels, and you'll see the same exact story in many other cities. One of the main proofs for Tartaria, and don't worry, we'll explain that word in a bit, but a good argument is these underground tunnels which can be found in almost every downtown American city. Some are small and may have been built in a more recent time, but others are massive and do not line up with the ability and available technology at the time. For example, the Washington Street Tunnel under the Chicago River. There are also legends in Pensacola of underground tunnels, yet they have been suppressed from the history books and have been left to oral history because they don't line up with the official PR-approved narrative. Look at this. The Henry B. Plant Museum, otherwise known as the Tampa Bay Hotel. Now to explain this to you, one of the aspects of Tartaria is stolen buildings and lost history. What you'll find is that every city has old world buildings. All you have to do is really question their history.
Can't go? Do this to clear out stuck poop fast. Fiber helps you poop, right?
Because if I were to tell you that I'm doubtful that they built this in the way that they tell us, meaning that this could be a repurposed building or an old world structure, most people would look it up and you would be directed to a museum that is in control of the history of that building and you'll be given a story. Most of the time, you'll get a few construction photos, but it's fascinating to find out how poorly documented the construction process was during this time in the early 19th century. It's the same thing. You'll see these buildings that are already mostly done with scaffolding, barely any people, windows in the ground, and clear signs of photo manipulation, which that's an entire subject of its own. Also in Tampa, there's the Ponce de Leon Hotel, which was completely poured concrete, which was supposedly the first of its kind. Also, these hotels in Florida were fully stocked with electricity during a time when Florida really didn't have that much going on, or so we're told. Also, you can see the familiar Russian-style architecture. Ever wonder why it's called St. Petersburg, Florida? Well, it's not just Florida. You can see this in New York, San Francisco, Charleston, St. Louis, and many more. Many times, old world churches downtown have questionable histories as being built or moved several times. You can see these old world buildings everywhere, from Gilded Age mansions and government buildings to small shops downtown. Even colleges, prisons, hospitals, military bases are all structures that do not line up with the official narrative that we are told. Of course, we're talking about structures from the 17th century to the 19th century in America. There's also no proof that they were built in the fashion that they tell us other than state-approved documents, manipulated photos, and just complete lies. There's also the common theme that throughout the downtowns of America, you can see what is often called mud-flooded windows. Of course, the typical answer is that these are just basements, but that doesn't really make that much sense. Some of these downtown areas get extreme flooding. Why would you build like this, especially with cities near the bay? Many of these basements actually have underground windows and doors that lead to nowhere. So this would imply that the streets actually used to be a lower level and then they were raised. We know this was done for a fact in Atlanta with the viaducts. They completely covered up old Atlanta. This is another interesting theme. Basically, many of these downtown cities in America have underground cities, which make no sense. What, did they just do a bunch of extra work for nothing? Put windows and doors and streets down there for the heck of it? It's more likely that there are lower levels of the cities in America that have been built over. There is indeed evidence that there are massive tunnel systems underneath the majority of American cities. This alone should be enough to question the construction of these cities, as they didn't even have proper waste management until after the 1900s. They were literally defecating in chamber pots in the 1850s. What you have is that there's this complete contradiction with the culture, technology, and population counts needed to create these cities and buildings on this magnitude and scale in such a short time frame. They were building structures in the US in just a few years that were taking hundreds of years back in Europe. Let's keep in mind what we're discussing. Many of the downtowns in America have old world buildings that do not have an in-depth historical record. Some buildings have no construction photos at all, yet they feel very out of place for the time period that they're said to be built in. Again, if you want proof, that takes time, and we would have to list the buildings one by one as we've done in other videos. Because, again, in some cases we're talking about buildings from 200 years ago. It's not too hard to manipulate information over multiple generations. If we look at what was being taught in public schools just 50 years ago versus what's being taught now, there's really very little consistency. Why is it so crazy to question that the buildings that were being built all across America, even the ones from the early 1900s in some cases, And one of the things that Charlie demanded for was evidence. Evidence. Well, I agree. Where is the evidence that they built these old world buildings? Construction photos? You'd be surprised to know how many fake photos were used during war. Actually, all wars. Civil Wars, World War I and II, both extensively used photo manipulations to reinforce the narratives being spread through newspapers and even radio. So I could just say I'm doubtful of those construction photos, in the same exact way that Moist doubted the legitimacy of the 1540s map depicting castles in America. Yes, one is crayon, right? But it's quite clear that it's depicting castles in America in the 1540s and does not seem to be manipulated. Photos, yes, even construction photos, have been found to be complete fakes. There are other maps that show castles in America, including the early engravings of America depicting massive cities, but not only that, the 7 cities of Cibola from Joan Martinez's chart of 1578 is a map that depicts the 7 cities of Cibola, which were the mythical lands of gold that the Spanish believed to exist somewhere in the southwest of North America. Here is a depiction on the maps. Massive castle-like fortified cities. If you ask me, I trust these ancient manuscripts more than these low-quality construction photos given to us by some of these museums. Don't believe it? Is this photo of a Mormon construction site real? Most would automatically assume, since it's an old photo, that equals proof. But that's not true. It's a complete fabrication. Look at the vanilla skies. No faces, floating ladder. They would paint on historic photos. We have an entire video exposing this history of photo manipulation.
This is my comeback. Start yours at purdueglobal.edu.
This would imply that they did not actually build these temples in such a short time span. The Mormons were said to have created multiple massive temple churches with no modern technology, and yet they're photo manipulating photos. And on top of that, you know the Book of Mormon actually says there were advanced civilizations in America before Columbus, and that they actually had cities here in America. No, there's a bunch of really crazy stuff in there. It might not be proof, but it's strange that they even mention that. How can we trust the history of these old world buildings when our historical record on many of these buildings is scarce? And you want to know the main reason why? Because there's been a great fire in every major American city, and I don't think that was by accident. Some people say, oh, it was because of candles, or that they didn't have enough resources to carry the water and put out the fire or whatever. But they say that the Chicago fire was started by a cow kicking over a lantern that ended up causing over $200 million in damages. Which makes no sense. They were supposedly building these brick buildings to be entirely fireproof, so why do we see so many fires in Chicago, New York, Detroit, San Francisco, all over America? And let's not forget the World Fairs, which we'll explain in a bit. But they didn't have insurance back then. You think they were just building these massive brick buildings and underground tunnels all across America just to go in and actively destroy it with fire? And not all of them were accidents. During the Civil War, in Columbia, South Carolina, the Union specifically set the city on fire to destroy the buildings and mills so that they couldn't be used by the South. They did this with many other cities as well, which makes no sense because shortly after the Union came into possession of those lands. Now we're diving deep into this material. We're talking brotherhoods and fabrications of an unimaginable degree, mental mind control and population resets. You don't think that small groups of people in power aren't going to treat Earth and its inhabitants like a game of Sims or Civilization? The reason why we're not privy to this information is that these cities in America were literally founded. That's why they say that in history with the founding of a building or city. They're telling you and then redefining the words so that it doesn't seem like what it is. The next aspect of this alternative history involves secret societies. Yeah, Freemasons, and I know that many think that's a joke, right? But we aren't approaching this from your typical Illuminati Christian perspective, or not even from a conspiracy point of view, trying to blame everything on the evil Freemasons or something. No. Instead, we're discussing secret societies from a historical perspective. Go look up Oddfellows, then go to your downtown and notice how every downtown has or has had an Oddfellow lodge. If Freemason, Oddfellow, and Catholic Knight societies had lodges in every American city, is that not suspicious and or at least worthy of a note in the history books? Yes, obviously Freemasons and Oddfellows in the modern day are not the same thing that they were 100 years ago. Nowadays, if you go to a lodge, there's a bunch of old people getting together and talking about life. But back in the day, they were doing all sorts of rituals. The Freemasons aren't the ones in control. Neither are the Oddfellows. They are the mind-controlled orphans ruled by the Venetian families. They are the top orphans of the club. Secret societies have always been prevalent in the Catholic Church. These Freemasons were called Knights, and they evolved into the modern groups that we know as Freemasons and what we know in the public today as the Illuminati. But the Freemasons are not the Illuminati or the people in control. These Catholic orphans in the 1700s that actually go back to earlier societies as the Rosicrucians and the Knights Templar, all of which were controlled by the church as pawns in the play of divide and conquer. So these Catholic orphans started their own society, the Oddfellows, to educate the orphan. And it's weird because they have these massive old world buildings with no construction photos that were also used as asylums and orphanages in many early American cities. They also contributed greatly to funding the schools and providing hospitals for a large amount of cities in America. These Oddfellows were just a bunch of odd fellows, and we're supposed to believe that they were just philanthropists giving all their money to the needy. That's the story they want you to believe. But this is when it gets dark. And this is all according to the official story, factual. During the 1820 to 1950 period, there was an abundance of orphan trains that would move children from Europe all around the United States. They would do this to repopulate cities and use children for forced labor. This was going on before the 1800s, as before the Oddfellows there were the foundling hospitals, many of which have old world architecture and are quite massive. They were also used as sanitariums. Just to remind you, because yes, this does tie back to Tartaria, right now we're discussing orphans and brotherhoods because we're attempting to show you how history could easily be manipulated and or fabricated. We will come back to the buildings in just a moment. The Foundling Hospital logo clearly depicts Diana of Ephesus, the Queen Bee, and the Star of Ishtar. Now this is when we get into the importance of occult symbolism, another subject too in-depth to discuss in detail at the moment, but this is a clear reference to genetic cloning. We have an entire video on this subject, it's pretty mind-blowing. The ancients and medieval alchemists were well aware of creating humans from within too. This process is actually described in detail by Paracelsus. Many of the most enlightened minds of the Renaissance period believed it to be possible to create a fully formed human without the use of sex. Also, the Cabbage Patch Kids from the 1980s are not just some crazy doll hype where people would beat each other up in order to get one. No, this concept of babies being grown in cabbages has a much darker history. We have a massive collection of French postcards from the early 1900s to depict children being grown and sold in cabbage patches. And no, it's not just a friendly, funny postcard. There were hundreds of these, and some of them are real photos of babies, most likely orphans. They're showing us through symbols the process of repopulation. We have proof of this because the first reference to cabbage patches and growing humans is actually from an 1896 film, which was the first movie ever made, La Fée aux Choux, by the female director Alice Guy.
There was a time when I thought that this was it, you know, family. Everything.
Go watch that movie and tell me it's not disturbing the way she threw around those babies. Alice Guy said herself that she made this film to promote the 1896 incubators at the World's Fair in Paris. So these World Fairs were used for selling children. They were literally called hatcheries, and there's even a postcard from the 1900s that showed this. Were they growing children in incubators for the process of repopulation? It's described in the artwork clearly. So what you have is empty cities, buildings that were founded, and these buildings were then found by a group of cult orphans that we call Freemasons basically, and they founded these orphanages and asylums for repopulating these cities. Then they fed us our history and even the rituals of the holidays. Many other mind control games that we play as children, like Pin the Tail on the Donkey, where we are actually secretly initiated into their club. And this phenomena of Tartaria, lost buildings, and civilizations is not just with the US. This is actually the same thing in every European city as well. It's everywhere, and this gets into the idea that Tartaria was a global civilization because many of these old world buildings that you see in America resemble European architecture. It's not just in America, you can find this exact same style of government buildings all around the world. I'll explain that soon, but I wanted to start with America because Charlie was saying, why would anyone look into this, that people just want to make stuff up for no reason. But I don't think you could easily make this stuff up, to be honest. I also think he doesn't fully understand what we're discussing, but I really don't blame him. There's still a lot of work to be done. The interesting thing about these buildings is that it's actually shocking to find out how bad the historical record is when it comes to the creation of many of these old world buildings in America. Also, not to mention the amount of buildings that were lost or destroyed to fires. It's important to understand our history, and if it's true that some of these buildings in America were actually here before the so-called settlers, then what would that imply? Would that mean that there was an advanced culture in America and that it wasn't just primitive Native Americans when the Europeans arrived like we're told? Now, I know that people who may be new and from his channel may think, okay, where's the evidence? I mean, come on, where's the evidence? And it's this automatic source type thinking that's honestly really limiting. That's not to say it's bad to source and document things, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying most of the time people are demanding some university approved mainstream sources, but when it comes to alternative history, many of the things we're discussing do not have an authorized answer, because we're questioning and challenging histories that were set hundreds of years ago. Many of our historical records for before the 1700s are just court documents that could have been easily altered or forged by the ruling elite. We're given a history, much of which could have been easily fabricated, and we're just talking letters, documents, photos. It is possible to fake. For example, if we're discussing the Civil War and I say that it's fake, it's all a lie, and you say, where's your evidence? Well, there is no official evidence. It doesn't mean anything. What is evidence? A history book from the university or the museum's telling you the story? Is that evidence for you? Many times people walk right into a museum, learn the history, yet none of these Reddit-minded people who immediately demand evidence say anything to these museums. Some of them are using modern paintings, and the historical photos that they do show many times are photo manipulated. But what if I show you the clearly staged and photo manipulated photos of the Civil War? And also the fact that they had cameras during that time, but there's not one photo of the actual war? Would you not be questionable? I could go on listing all the Freemasons who were both on Union and Confederate sides. It was a stage, a brotherly act in which they were executing divide and conquer, and it's the same exact strategy today. Essentially, first you have these empty cities in America, and we could discuss more on why that is and what happened, but essentially, you have cities that were hijacked and emptied out. Now, I'm not saying this is proof, as I know how easily photos can be manipulated, but there are several photos from the 19th century showing cities being completely empty with no people. And no, it's not exposure issues. Look at the San Francisco panorama from 1860 in HD. Now, explain to me, why don't they have full-on HD photos for the construction process of some of these older architectures in other cities? Also, I don't think that these have been manipulated, as why would you photo manipulate a city to be empty? To make it look more presentable? To who? And that's a lot of work. Who would be asking a photographer to edit out all the people? And if we're willing to consider the idea that a photographer went in and masked out every single person, but are not willing to consider that construction photos can be faked, then I don't know what to tell you. It seems more logical to conclude that these photos have little to no manipulation, and many cities, including Chicago, were ghost cities in the early 1900s. Most of the time, photo manipulation was used to add people back into photos because they were so dull and depressing they needed to give it the illusion of having more life. That may be too much of a leap for most people, but what you have to understand is the control of the media and information.
Got a technical background? Looking to go remote and get paid more? Become a software engineer in 10 months with Practicum. Learn to code real business projects, from simple web pages to complete applications. We'll teach you the full stack from scratch with line-by-line code review. Put your skills to work in multiple externship projects to get work experience and build your portfolio. Our career coaches will review your resume, prep you for interviews, and send you relevant job openings. You'll get hired in your first 6 months after graduating Practicum, or we'll simply refund 100% of your tuition. Apply today to make the switch to software engineering.
On September 26, 2022, a despicable act, with the support of the White House, sealed the fate of millions of hardworking Americans. That's the day when a covert attack blew 4 60-foot holes into the side of Russia.
Back then, pictures were the media, and there was and still is so much power in an image. This was well known back then. There's also power behind the narrative or history behind a place, building, or event. Why is it so crazy to assume that the propaganda and lies that we see in the modern day are in fact the result of a much deeper history that involves the inheriting of the treasures of the ancients? Or in other words, our city's infrastructures were already here. Many of the old world buildings in downtowns, or boom towns, are actually the remnants of old world cities that were not American, or at least built in the fashion they tell us. So yeah, all of American history is a huge fabrication. That's number one. Now if you want me to explain that, that takes time. I noticed that Charlie couldn't even imagine the concept of watching a 50-minute video, but then how are you going to say there's no evidence? There are definitely arguments to support the claim that American history has been heavily distorted and manipulated. With that said, that was the brief explanation, and understand that I'm attempting to compress a vast subject while at the same time accommodating short attention spans. I haven't even really got to the main definition of what Tartaria is. It seems that the best way to approach this was just to jump into it, because many have not even considered that American cities could have been hijacked cities, so I wanted to focus more on that rather than getting into the semantics on what exactly is Tartaria. But now, I can explain that in more detail, which should answer many of your questions of exactly what we're discussing. Okay, so we begin the detailed explanation by moving to terms. Our definition of Tartaria may differ from other researchers' definition of the term. So we need to first establish what are we talking about, because Charlie kept saying, oh, what are the Tartarians? Are they reptilians or underground apartment dwellers? Well, let's give the shortest definition possible. Tartaria is really just lost old world history. That's it. Obviously, there's more to it than just that. What is history? Can history be faked or tampered with? Many are willing to accept that the mainstream media can lie in the modern day. People still have issues trusting authority in recent times, but why is that same logic not applied to the history books? Let me just give you a couple things to consider before we give a definition. For example, with the World's Fairs. Now hold on, the story that we're given is that these architectures seen in these photos of the World's Fair in America during the early 1900s were all just built in a short 2 to 3 year span with no construction photos, and that they were all built from wooden pallets. Now really think about that for a second. Look at the Chicago's World's Fair. You see these embankments? And notice the level of detail on this architecture? Even if this was just wood, this would have been a massive feat. Yet, all we get for a historic record of the construction is some shoddy footage that actually comes from a movie about the World's Fair. And that's it. There wasn't just one World's Fair either, but several in the United States during the 1900s. So they just built these massive World's Fair areas, or went in and massed out every single person, but are not willing to consider that that were hijacked and emptied out. Okay, where's the evidence? I mean, come on, where's the evidence? And it's this automatic source type thinking that's honestly really limiting. That's not to say it's bad to source and document things, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying most of the time, people are demanding some university approved mainstream sources, but when it comes to alternative history, many of the things we're discussing do not have an authorized answer, because we're questioning and challenging histories that were set hundreds of years ago. Many of our historical records for before the 1700s are just court documents that could have been easily altered or forged by the ruling elite. We're given a history, much of which could have been easily fabricated, and we're just talking letters, documents, photos. It is possible to fake. For example, if we're discussing the Civil War and I say that it's fake, it's all a lie, and you say, where's your evidence? Well, there is no official evidence. That doesn't mean anything. What is evidence? A history book from the university or the museum's telling you the story? Is that evidence for you? Many times people walk right into a museum, learn the history, yet none of these Reddit-minded people who immediately demand evidence say anything to these museums. Some of them are using modern paintings, and the historical photos that they do show many times are photo manipulated. But what if I show you the clearly staged and photo manipulated photos of the Civil War? And also the fact that they had cameras during that time, but there's not one photo of the actual war? Would you not be questionable? I could go on listing all the Freemasons who were both on Union and Confederate sides. It was a stage, a brotherly act in which they were executing divide and conquer, and it's the same exact strategy today. Essentially, first you have these empty cities in America, and we could discuss more on why that is and what happened, but essentially, you have cities that were hijacked and emptied out. Now, I'm not saying this is proof, as I know how easily photos can be manipulated, but there are several photos from the 19th century showing cities being completely empty with no people. And no, it's not exposure issues. Look at the San Francisco panorama from 1860 in HD. Now, explain to me, why don't they have full-on HD photos for the construction process of some of these older architectures in other cities? Also, I don't think that these have been manipulated, as why would you photo manipulate a city to be empty? To make it look more presentable? To who? And that's a lot of work. Who would be asking a photographer to edit out all the people? And if we're willing to consider the idea that a photographer went in and masked out every single person, but are not willing to consider that construction photos can be faked, then I don't know what to tell you. It seems more logical to conclude that these photos have little to no manipulation, and many cities, including Chicago, were ghost cities in the early 1900s. Most of the time, photo manipulation was used to add people back into photos because they were so dull and depressing, they needed to give it the illusion of having more life. That may be too much of a leap for most people, but what you have to understand is the control of the media and information. Back then, pictures were the media, and there was and still is so much power in an image. This was well known back then. There's also power behind the narrative or history behind a place, building, or event. Why is it so crazy to assume that the propaganda and lies that we see in the modern day are in fact the result of a much deeper history that involves the inheriting of the treasures of the ancients? Or in other words, our city's infrastructures were already that these photos.
This right here is one of my 18 audiobooks that I own. It made 82 sales last month on Audible. It's called
Process of some of these older architectures in other cities. Also, I don't think that these have been manipulated, as why would you photo manipulate a city to be empty? To make it look more presentable? To who? And that's a lot of work. Who would be asking a photographer to edit out all the people? And if we're willing to consider the idea that a photographer went in and masked out every single person, but are not willing to consider that construction photos can be faked, then and I don't know what to tell you. It seems more logical to conclude that these photos have little to no manipulation, and many cities, including Chicago, were ghost cities in the early 1900s. Most of the time, photo manipulation was used to add people back into photos because they were so dull and depressing, they needed to give it the illusion of having more life. That may be too much of a leap for most people, but what you have to understand is the control of the media and information. Back then, pictures were the media, and there was and still is so much power in an image. This was well known back then. There's also power behind the narrative or history behind a place, building, or event. Why is it so crazy to assume that the propaganda and lies that we see in the modern day are in fact the result of a much deeper history that involves the inheriting of the treasures of the ancients? Or in other words, our city's infrastructures were already here. Many of the old world buildings in downtowns, or boom towns, are actually the remnants of old world cities that were not American, or at least built in the fashion they tell us. So yeah, all of American history is a huge fabrication. That's number one. Now if you want me to explain that, that takes time. I noticed that Charlie couldn't even imagine the concept of watching a 50-minute video, but then how are you going to say there's no evidence? There are definitely arguments to support the claim that American history has been heavily distorted and manipulated. With that said, that was the brief explanation, and understand that I'm attempting to compress a vast subject well then. There's also power behind food, and that's a lot of work. The Freemasons and the historical photos that they do show, many times are photo manipulated. But what if I show you the clearly staged and photo manipulated photos of the Civil War? And also the fact that they had cameras during that time, but there's not one photo of the actual war? Would you not be questionable? I could go on listing all the Freemasons who were both on Union and Confederate sides. It was a stage, a brotherly act in which they were executing divide and conquer, and it's the same exact strategy today. Essentially, first you have these empty cities in America, and we could discuss more on why that is and what happened, but essentially, you have cities that were hijacked and emptied out. Now I'm not saying this is proof, as I know how easily photos can be manipulated, but there are several photos from the 19th century showing cities being completely empty with with no people. And no, it's not exposure issues. Look at the San Francisco panorama from 1860 in HD. Now, explain to me, why don't they have full-on HD photos for the construction process of some of these older architectures in other cities? Also, I don't think that these have been manipulated, as why would you photo manipulate a city to be empty? To make it look more presentable? To who? And that's a lot of work. Who would be asking a photographer to edit out all the people? And if we're willing to consider the idea that a photographer went in and masked out every single person, but are not willing to consider that construction photos can be faked, then I don't know what to tell you. It seems more logical to conclude that these photos have little to no manipulation, and many cities, including Chicago, were ghost cities in the early 1900s. Most of the time, photo manipulation was used to add people back into photos because they were so dull and depressing, they needed to give it the illusion of having more life. That may be too much of a leap for most people, but what you have to understand is the control of the media and information. Back then, pictures were the media, and there was and still is so much power in an image. This was well known back then. There's also power behind the narrative or history behind a place, building, or event. Why is it so crazy to assume that the propaganda and lies that we see in the modern day are in fact the result of a much deeper history that involves the inheriting of the treasures of the ancients? Or in other words, our city's infrastructures were already here. Many of the old world buildings in downtowns, or boom towns, are actually the remnants of old world cities that were not American, or at least built in the fashion they tell us. So yeah, all of American history is a huge fabrication. That's number one. Now if you want me to explain that, that takes time. I noticed that Charlie couldn't even imagine the concept of watching a 50-minute video, but then how are you going to say there's no evidence? There are definitely arguments to support the claim that American history has been heavily distorted and manipulated. With that said, that was the brief explanation, and understand that I'm attempting to compress a vast subject while at the same time accommodating short attention spans. I haven't even really got to the main definition of what Tartaria is. It seems that the best way to approach this was just to jump into it, because many have not even considered that American cities could have been hijacked cities, so I wanted to focus more on that rather than getting into the semantics on what exactly is Tartaria. But now, I can explain that in more detail, which should answer many of your questions of exactly what we're discussing. Okay, so we begin the detailed explanation by moving to terms. Our definition of Tartaria may differ from other researchers' definition of the term, so we need to first establish what are we talking about, because Charlie kept saying, oh, what are the Tartarians? Are they reptilians or underground apartment dwellers? Well, let's give the shortest definition possible. Tartaria is really just lost old world history. That's it. Obviously, there's more to it than just that. What is history? Can history be faked or tampered with? Many are willing to...
Hello there. Hello? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. I can hear you too. Your
What's up?
your name your ramen writer?
Yes.
Okay.
It's cool if I stream, right?
Yeah, it's cool.
Thank you.
Let's see how I set this up.
to accept that the mainstream media can lie in the modern day.
Okay, there. Got it. Work. It's there in my deck here. Okay.
Can you scoot your camera up a bit towards you?
This thing?
Yes, just towards you. Yep, yep.
Yeah, let me
That's
see
good.
if I can get the right thing. I'm also trying to get the stupid. Okay, let
Yes,
me
thank
see.
you.
Is it fine?
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Camera quality looks good.
Yeah, yours is way better than mine, for sure.
Thank you.
Let me try and fix the glare.
If I did a little glare on my side, I'm sorry.
It's cool. It's cool.
So, okay, almost time, I guess.
Yep.
Oh, timer started. Okay. It's time.
All right.
Um,
All right, hold up. Close the window real quick. It was too bright.
on wait, my side or your side?
No, my side.
Okay.
So. All right. You want a high roll? One dice?
Yeah, sure. One dice?
Yeah.
Sure. That right here.
3.
Okay. I got a 1.
Okay. And then how do you want to cut?
Oh wait, cut first. There. Just try to cut the half of it, I guess.
Okay.
Like.
Yeah. Same for
How
you.
about you?
Same for you.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay.
Never done this before.
Oh, I will mulligans this.
Okay. Let me see. Same. Do you have the same eggs?
No.
Okay.
You want to cut the eggs?
Nah. Just one good shuffle, and that's it.
Okay.
I have the same eggs. Same.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
How do you want to cut?
Same thing. Just try to take a half and just cut right there.
All right, same. I forgot. Is it security first?
No, it's the hand first, then security.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cut as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Five cards.
All right. I guess I'm going first.
Yep. Good luck. Have fun.
Thank you. Draw. The draw for 2. Draw.
Okay, for 2. Okay. So my turn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I draw. Hatch. Let me see. And okay, Good. I'll leave you at 2 to play Eismon Scatter Mode.
Okay. Draw. Promote. I will swing 8K and draw 1.
Okay. Security check. 6K. You're good.
Okay. Then I will play an Agumon, give you 1.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
My turn. Draw. Can't do anything on raising. So I'll Digivolve in raising.
Mm-hmm.
I draw. Yeah, no protections for the Greymon, right?
No protection.
Okay. I'll leave you at 1 to play Pandemonium Flame. Oh wait.
Ooh.
Yes. Yeah, I
Yes.
remember now.
Yes.
No, yes. Yes. I'm just gonna use Pandemonium Flame still. Delete one of my Digimon to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with or unsuspended Digimon with a level equal or less than. Yeah, so I can't kill the Greymon. I'm killing the Agumon at least.
Alright.
I commit. Okay. Eismon Scatter Mode on deletion.
Yes.
Draw 3. Then trash 2. I'll trash this. Hello? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's just checking.
And this guy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's fine.
Okay. Your turn.
Alright.
And this one's dead.
Draw. We'll swing 8K again and draw 1.
Okay. 12K.
Alright. Then Digivolve. Draw. Draw for 2, give you 1. Draw.
Okay. My turn.
Mm-hmm.
I draw.
Yes.
I'll leave you at 1 to Digivolve.
Yes. Okay.
I draw.
Draw.
Your turn.
We just play Cool Boy. Put you back. 3. Yeah, Metal Greymon. Your turn.
Okay. I draw.
Mm-hmm.
I will leave you at 2 to Digivolve to Blue Marimon.
Okay.
Your turn.
Draw. Okay. Let's promote.
Okay.
We'll digivolve into X antibody. Draw. Draw again. Gain a memory. Then we'll digivolve for 3 into Metal Greymon X antibody.
Okay.
And then we'll digivolve for 5 to Gaiomon. Draw. And he will blitz 3 checks, and then Koromon draw 1 at 15K.
Okay. 3 checks. First check. Mervamon. Okay. Second check. Jack Raid. Gain 2 memory. Last check. Mervamon. Mervamon.
Yes.
Okay.
And then reboot.
Okay. My turn.
Mm-hmm.
I draw.
Yes.
I'll promote. I'm gonna check trash real quick.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I will. For 3,
Mm-hmm.
put me at 4 to the Digivolve to Minervamon.
Yes.
Draw for Digivolution. Okay, I will. Let's see. I'll swing to Security. 11K, one check.
15.
15, okay. On deletion.
Yes.
I'll do Demi Merrimons first.
Mm-hmm.
Draw 1. Trash 1. I'll trash this one.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Interesting deck.
Yes.
I've never seen that.
I mean, if it's possible, it's possible. On deletion, if my opponent has 2 or fewer Digimon in play,
Yes.
you may play 1 level 5 or lower Digimon card, 1 purple level 5 or lower Digimon card, or 1 Mervamon from trash without paying the cost.
Mm-hmm.
I will play the Merva.
Yes.
The rest goes to trash. And I will Digicross
Mm-hmm.
using the Shopmon X4.
Yes. Oh shit. Nice.
It's the cross hearts.
Oh man.
Yeah, this wasn't a good stack.
No, but
This
still.
was- okay. Yeah.
I didn't know you could do that.
It says 1 Digimon card with crosshair in his trait, so
Yeah. Okay.
he's there to help me out for a bit. So on play. On play, I may play 1 purple level 4 lower Digimon card or 1 level 4 lower Digimon card with crosshair in its trait from trash. Play from trash without paying cost. If Digicrossing, add 1 to the number of cards you play with this effect.
Mm-hmm.
So I will play the Soulmon,
Mm-hmm.
and Dark Blizzardmon.
Nice. Okay.
Then all turns, all your Digimon with crosshair in its trait or retaliation
Mm-hmm.
gains rush and blocker. So
Okay.
these,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
all 3 have block and rush.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see
Yes, sir.
what can I do in this situation? Let's see. Okay, I think I know what I can do. For 4,
Mm-hmm.
I will play Aizmon, scatter mode.
Okay.
Let me see. Trash. Okay, I think I know what to do. Leave you at 1 to play Calling from the Darkness.
Yes.
I may delete 1 of my Digimon, delete the Aizmon, then return up to 2 purple Digimon cards from your trash to hand. So I'm taking back the blue Mera and taking back the Mervamon.
Okay. Alright.
Okay. And on deletion of Aizmon, draw 3,
Okay.
trash 2. I trash. Oops. This and yeah, this one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Alright.
This one's dead. Your turn at 1.
Draw. Catch. Digivolve. Draw. Hmm. We will do another cool boy. Draw
Okay.
1. No hits. Your turn.
Okay. I'll draw.
Mm-hmm.
I'll hatch. Let's see. I will Digivolve.
Mm-hmm.
Draw for Digivolution. Let me see. Okay. I shall leave you at 1 to Digivolve to Dark Lizardmon.
Okay.
Draw. Your turn.
Draw. Hmm. Promote Agumon. Digivolve
Okay.
into X antibody. Draw. Gain 2. Draw 2.
Yeah.
Hmm. We will Digivolve for 1 to the green one.
Okay.
Draw. Or you gain 1 back, but yeah. Then Digivolve to green one X antibody. Draw.
Okay.
And Digivolve to middle green one for 4.
Okay.
Draw. And we'll Digivolve. Yeah. Never mind. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's here too. Okay. My turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your turn.
I'm at 2. Yeah. I draw for for turn. I will promote. I'm gonna check trash real quick.
Mm-hmm.
3, 6, 9. If we can just stand up. Let's see. Try and count the freaking cards here. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 14 in trash. So I will use Jack Raid for 1.
Yes.
Then I will use. Then I will Digivolve to for 3 over this one. Blue Marimon.
Yes.
Draw over Digivolution. When Digivolving, draw 2. Trash 2. I will trash this.
Yes.
And which one? Yeah, that one. This one. These 2.
Yes.
It's not enough for another. Okay, then I shall. Let's see. You're right there. I'm almost. Yeah, I'm gonna just Digivolve for 4 into Mervomon.
Yes.
Draw for Digivolution. When Digivolving, you may play 1 purple level 4 lower Digimon from trash or cross heart from trash and play it without paying cost. So yeah, the Solomon. So I can only can play 1.
Yes.
I'm not Digi crossing. Okay. Blue Marimon. Alternates when you play a Digimon by effect, gain 1 memory.
Okay.
So I'll leave you at 3.
Okay. Alright. Draw. I think I got it. Is they're only blockers because of Mervamon?
Yes. Do you have Diamond?
No, I have Hades Force.
Oh shit! Yeah, again you got me.
Yeah, Hades Force, and then it swings for game. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Round two. Or game two, wherever you want to say it.
The Mirrormon had protection? It'd be good.
Yeah,
It'd be
but with
super
them,
good.
the twin purple ever has protection.
You're right. You're right. But I have an idea.
What's your idea?
You play what's that card? It's not volcanic Dramon, metallic Dramon.
I can't remember what he does. It's level 6, right?
Yeah. The EX03 is when you play him, like, your Digimon's your opponent's Digimon can't Digivolve or something.
Oh yeah, I remember. He like stops you from digivolving, right?
Yeah.
On play. Yeah.
Interesting. Maybe.
It is interesting.
Maybe.
Maybe it's interesting.
But that would give him 10 memory. But they can't Digivolve.
I see what you're doing there. I see.
Yeah. But yeah, what can they do with 10 memory? That's the thing.
Yeah. No, yeah. I seen that happen a lot. Like when people get a lot of memory, but they can't use it because.
Yeah, that might be a interesting tech.
I like it.
Yeah.
Alright. Okay. Do you want just wanna cut the half again?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
How about you?
The same.
Okay.
Since I lost, I'll go first.
Okay.
Really shall mulligan.
Keep it.
Okay.
Who's going first?
I'm going first.
Okay.
I'll do the cut.
Yep. Alright.
Take the 5 cards. Then security. Okay. Good luck.
You too.
Have fun. Okay. I'll hatch. I'll digivolve in raising. Stack 0. Then I'll leave you at 2 for just Dark Lizardmon digivolve.
Alright.
Your turn.
Let's go fetch. Digivolve to Agumon, draw. Let's play the black Agumon. Give you 1. Top 4. I can add Dragonkin and add a Greymon?
Yeah.
Alright, that's it.
Is that one Gaiomon right there?
Which one?
The one in the one that was stuck in the glare. The one next to.
This one?
Next to the Metal Gray X.
No, it's Dorbrickmon.
Oh yeah, he's a Dragonkin.
Yes.
Yeah. Fuck. Okay.
Alright.
Still good. It's a good haul.
You're at 1.
Okay. I turn.
Mm-hmm.
I draw. I'll leave you at 1 to play Analog Youth. On play, reveal top 3.
Yes.
And add 1 Digimon. I'll take the Iceman
Okay.
and trash the rest.
Alright.
Your turn.
Draw. We just play a cool boy.
Okay.
Top 3. Metal Greymon. Does it?
Okay. My turn.
Mm-hmm.
I draw. Yeah, I'll promote.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll leave you at 2 to Digivolve to Lady Devimon.
Yes.
Draw for Digivolution. Then when Digivolving,
Mm-hmm.
draw 2. Trash 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'll trash this and this.
Nice. Okay. My turn. Draw. Play another cool boy.
Okay.
Top 3. Agumon X Antibody.
Okay.
Will Digivolve this Agumon.
Okay.
Draw first, then gain 2, draw 2, and then Agumon effect. Top 3 cards. I'll get a Greymon.
Yep.
Then we'll play play a memory boost. If you want.
Okay.
Top 4. Just get Agumon X Antibody. Your turn.
Okay. I draw.
Mm-hmm.
I'll hatch. I'll Digivolve in Raising. I'll attempt to swing security. 8K, 1 check.
8K, 6K, you're good.
Okay. I will, for 1, I'll play Dark Deathclaw. I may delete one of my Digimon to delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon.
Yes, sir.
I'll kill him to kill Agumon. Okay? Demimera's on deletion. Draw 1. Then trash 1. I'll trash this one. Okay? And analog use?
Yes.
When one of my level 5 or higher Digimon with Digivolution cards is deleted, I may suspend this tamer to gain 1 memory and hatch 1 egg, which there's no hatching.
Yeah. Like I want.
I'll go back. Yeah. Then I will leave you at 3 for Matt Ishida. On play, return 1 purple Digimon card or purple option card from trash to hand. I'll take back the Lady Debbie.
Okay.
Your turn.
Draw. Yeah, well, guess we will promote. Agumon X, draw. Gain 2, draw 2.
Okay.
Green 1 for 2. Draw. Do Another cool boy. Top 3. Galma. For free, draw. Gain 1, draw 1.
Yeah.
And for 4, and then you go to 3 anyways. Draw Metal Greymon.
Okay. My turn.
Mm-hmm.
I draw. I'll promote.
Mm-hmm.
For 2. Digital to Ice Bond Scatter Mode.
Yes.
I draw.
And this one's a blocker.
No, this one's the on deletion guy.
Okay. No, I'm a blocker.
Oh yeah, he's blocker. Yeah.
Yes.
I'll attempt to swing at security 4K.
I'll block it.
Okay. On deletion.
Mm-hmm.
Draw 3. Then trash 2.
Mm-hmm.
Trash that and this.
Mm-hmm.
Demimera. Draw 1. I'll trash 1. Trash this. Yeah. Yeah, I'm at 1.
Yes.
Yeah, careful not to knock that shit down. Okay. How many cool boys you have?
3.
Okay. I will just leave you at 2 to play the Gobblebon.
Okay.
Your turn.
Turn, draw. Digivolve. Draw. Okay. We will digivolve to X antibody.
Okay.
Go to 5. Draw 3. Jeez.
One, then 2 checks.
Yeah, well, digivolve for 5.
Okay.
Draw. And we'll swing 3 checks and then draw 1 for Koromon.
Okay. 3 checks. At what
18k. 18k.
18. Okay. Okay. 3 checks. First check. Second check. Third check. Okay.
And then we'll play another memory boost. B3. Top 4. Take Ragnar. Your turn.
Okay. I draw. I'll hatch. Checking the trash. Okay. This is 3. Yeah, that's 10 right there. Somebody 18. Trying to get out of this mess. So I will play Jack Raid just to gain one.
Mm-hmm.
He's still a blocker, right?
Yes.
Okay. I will. Yeah. I'll play the Merfolk. I'll Digicross. When I would play this card, I can also place cards from trash to use for Digicrossing. So I will use the Ignite Mon to cross. Then for -3, so 11 -3 is 8. And 8 -4, so you'll be left at 4. On play, I will play the Dark Lizard. And yeah, the Solmon. Okay. So Ignite Mon's inherent. When you play Digimon by effect, gain 1 memory. So you'll be left at 3.
Okay.
Your turn.
Alright. 2 blockers. Alright. Draw.
3 blockers.
Oh, yes, 3. Okay.
Yeah, remember.
Let's see. Promote. Alright, and then we'll do Doricmon. Then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll pop Minervamon.
Yep.
That's for 3. Then we'll just do the Ragnar combo. And
oh shit. Oh man, I got a PTSD from that guy. Okay,
yeah.
so
Well, it pops everybody and trashes everything else.
security for every 4, right?
Yeah, for every 4. So
Yeah,
you
have enough.
I have enough.
Okay, so yeah.
Yep, and soon forget.
Oh well, good. Okay.
Yep.
Anyways, good game.
Good game. Yeah, I think maybe that tech might work. That the metallic Dramon tech. I feel it. Because if you could stop me from digivolving.
Yeah, if I can stop you, then I can at least have like some turns to do something.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a bad idea actually.
Yeah, I can see what you're thinking of. I know that next when BT12 is legal, I can just use Jet Merva to at least help with that too.
Oh, what does it do?
Well, it only protects from bounce. You know, bounce like return from deck or to hand or deck. All my Digimon. It gives all my Digimon blocker and can't be returned to deck or hand.
Okay.
Or turn or end of my opponent's turn.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, good against blue.
Yeah. But now I just gotta see how do I put the metallic Dramon in the deck later.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it might be a good tech, depending on the matchup. But I don't know. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, cause I was thinking about it too. I was like, what? Cause I wanted to build that, but I didn't know how to give protection.
Yeah. Again, that's all you can say about purple. They don't get protection. They usually want to die and draw.
Yeah, that. I don't know. It might be good. It might be good. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right then. Thank you for the game.
Yeah, thank you. It's already submitted.
Oh, you already submitted? Thank you.
Yeah. We did it once, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. See ya.
People still have issues trusting authority in recent times, but why is that same logic not applied to the history books? Let me just give you a couple things to consider before we give a definition. For example, with the World's Fairs. Now hold on. The story that we're given is that these architectures seen in these photos of the World's Fair in America during the early 1900s were all just built in a short 2 to 3 year span with no construction photos, and that they were all built from wooden pallets? Now really think about that for a second. Look at the Chicago's World's Fair. You see these embankments? And notice the level of detail on this architecture? Even if this was just wood, this would have been a massive feat. Yet, all we get for a historic record of the construction is some shoddy footage that actually comes from a movie about the World's Fair, and that's it. There wasn't just one World's Fair either, but several in the United States during the 1900s. So they just built these massive World's Fairs just to tear them down a couple years later? Many cities had these, even Louisville, Kentucky and Nashville, Tennessee. I mean, really look how massive some of these things are. They are entire cities. And so, this brings up several questions. Were these buildings truly built the way that we have been taught? Or were they already here? If you type in Tartaria, the basic gist of what they'll tell you is that Tartaria was a global lost civilization with advanced technology that appeared on old maps and was erased from history. As Charlie mentioned, a lot of the main points seem to be old maps, and yes, this may not be conclusive, especially with the maps that just say Tartary on it, but I do think a map from 1540 depicting castles in America, regardless of its crayon or not, is quite suspicious regarding the history that they tell us in the founding of America. Also, Charlie kept equating Tartaria to Atlantis, which is fair, but to make the distinction clear, the idea of Tartaria is from a much more recent time. Meaning, when people are talking about Tartaria, they're actually talking about the 1500s to 1700s period, where a civilization that existed in a far more recent time was left out from the history books, specifically because it was hijacked. Where's the evidence? Where's the source? Well, now we're getting into alternative history and false timelines. Let's start with the evidence on how the whole story of Pompeii is a complete fabrication. There are a number of glaring inconsistencies in the academically approved narrative of the city's destruction, and many arguments that support that Pompeii is actually from the 1600s and not 2,000 years ago as the history books tell us. Some inconsistencies include the frescoes that were discovered there and dated to 79 AD actually resemble the techniques used by medieval painters, including the famous painting of the Three Graces found in the House of the Three Graces in Pompeii. Furthermore, Vesuvius can be seen on 16th century maps, showing that the volcano was active long after the traditional date of their eruption, and Pompeii was not in fact lost.
Were you recently injured in a car accident? Look at this check for $160,000. If you're looking to get money you're owed for an injury, I want you to imagine you and your family getting that money, because I know a way that you can. Now, before you think I'm crazy, I want to show you how you can get that money you're owed in the next 30 days. Now, if you've thought about hiring an attorney before, but you didn't because you were unsure or you had reservations, it's not your fault. You were probably given no guidance and couldn't get a straight answer out of anyone about how much money you could actually make. I want you to capitalize on a limited opportunity that can have you cashing out a massive check in the next 30 days. This opportunity won't last long, and it's perfect for anyone who's been in a car accident in the last 2 years. Do you still think it's impossible? I'm willing to guarantee that by clicking on the link below and filling out the 15-second quiz, you will get an instant quote on how much your case is worth. And me and my team will help you get that money you deserve in as little as the next 30 days. Still think it's too good to be true? Let me tell you about our client, Steven. Now, when Steven first came to us, he was really unsure if his case was going to be worth anything. He was facing a lot of uncertainties in his life, and he didn't know if he was going to get paid for his injury at all. Turns out, after filing a claim with us, he was able to take home over $100,000 in settlement from an accident that was over a year ago. It's possible. No matter what you thought in the past, you can get the money you were owed and probably a lot more than what you were expecting. Simply click the button below and answer the questions about your case, and you'll get an instant quote about what your case is worth.
There's a 1631 memorial plaque on the road to Naples that lists Pompeii and Herculaneum as the victims of the 1631 eruption of Vesuvius. There were surgical tools in Pompeii that were not supposed to exist during that time, yet they were found in Pompeii and are dated to 2,000 years ago, yet they resemble medieval surgical tools? Oh yeah, and how could there be pineapples in their frescoes if the pineapple wasn't introduced into Europe until 1493? Let's keep in mind that Pompeii was supposedly discovered in 1748. Again, we have an entire video breaking this down. The evidence is there, you just have to be willing to look. But okay, let's try to define Tartaria again. Tartaria is a term that became popular around the 2018 to 2020 period before it became quickly filtered by YT's algorithm. Tartaria is basically the next big conspiracy after FE. If you don't know anything about history, that may be the only way to explain it to you. It's a massive rabbit hole that questions all of our official history. The difference is Tartaria is alternative history and FE is alternative cosmology. It gets interesting because Charlie was trying to bunch all the conspiracies under one label, implying that Tartaria is just something people want to believe in. He even said that he could do the same thing and just say a bunch of nonsense and make it sound believable. I mean, go for it. But there's much more to this than you want to believe, and I don't blame anyone for not wanting to look into it. But claiming it's just made up is ironic since these people demand evidence without even watching an entire video. Which, like I said, is understandable since they do tend to run long, but without looking into it, it's not very impartial to deem it as nonsense. History, once you dive past all the filler, is filled with mistakes, plot holes, and complete fabrications, and it's hard not to notice those inconsistencies and not ask questions, even questions that might seem obvious or stupid at first. So to finalize the terms, let me give you our definition of Tartaria. Tartaria is the phenomena or category of alternative history that delves into the research of lost history and civilizations, hijacks and stolen buildings, magic, alchemy, and cloning, antiquitech, cataclysms, mud floods, buried buildings, star forts and fortified cities, royal bloodlines and secret brotherhoods, asylums, orphans, and oddfellows, underground tunnels and waste management, and suppressed Morris history. By labeling Tartaria as simply a civilization, we're missing out on many aspects of this mystery, because that's just one piece. It's not until you have all the pieces that a bigger picture starts to appear. There is evidence for each one of these subjects, but in order to understand Tartaria, we have to have that base. We're about to go down a rabbit hole of history that was not taught to us, so yes, that means there's going to be some things that you have to investigate for yourself, meaning there's no official answer. Keep that in mind, that this is just meant to be a summary, and I can only say so much on each subject.
A house or a laptop? Which one do you think is worth more? Well, definitely not the house, because it not only costs millions to buy, but you also have to pay thousands to maintain it every month. What if I told you that I've made over $80 million all from something called digital real estate on my laptop? And digital real estate costs nearly nothing to start, and it creates real online assets that have the potential to generate income. And I'm surprised, frankly, that nobody else is talking about this right now, but if you don't want to hear more about it, just skip this video. So my name is Jeff Lerner, and I did not become a multimillionaire the traditional way. I didn't work 40 years for the man, I didn't invent anything, definitely didn't inherit a trust fund or win the lottery, but I did take advantage of digital real estate. And since then, I've generated over $80 million. I've been on the Inc. 5000 list twice, won a bunch of other awards, and most importantly, I've helped tens of thousands of other people with what I've learned. And now, for the first time ever, I'm sharing how you can also unlock the secrets of digital real estate and create your own incredible life, all in a simple book called The Millionaire Shortcut. And I'm not going to do this forever, but for right now, The Millionaire Shortcut is 100% free. No catch, no shipping costs, and no credit card. And I'll send this right to your email, and you can download it instantly. So click the link on your screen right now, go to my website, and enter your email to download your free copy. And this book is less than 20 pages. You could be reading it in the next 5 minutes, and you'll be done in the next hour. And I promise it's going to be the most powerful book that you'll ever read on how it can be possible to take advantage of digital real estate and create your own incredible legacy in this new economy. Now, did you know every single day in America, there are over 1,700 new millionaires created, and it's more than double that across the globe? People are becoming millionaires now faster and easier than ever before. But how are they doing it? And more importantly, can an average American do it too? Well, that's exactly what you're going to learn about in this book. Plus, after you get the book, I'm going to give you access to a free bonus video training where I'll show you how I build digital real estate, as well as the blueprint for how you can apply this to your life. So make sure that you watch that entire video. So with that said, click the link on your screen, enter your email address, and I'll send you a free copy of the book right now. Plus, you'll also get the free bonus training on how to apply it to your life.
Okay, this is gonna sound a little nuts, but the fastest and easiest way to make passive online income on Amazon is to never sell physical products. I never have, and Amazon's consistent.
Okay, so let's start off with lost history and civilizations. So yeah, obviously you know about Atlantis, but there are other more recent cultures that were completely wiped and left out from the history books, being instead labeled as fantasy or mythology. One theory that was not started by us and actually has been discussed by several scholars since the 17th century is the Irish origins of civilization. And yeah, I get it, that might sound funny to people who have never heard it before, but there's actually a shocking amount of evidence to support that Gaelic and Irish Christianity is in fact the original church, and it was just straight up hijacked by the Roman Catholic Church. How do you expect me to give you proof for that in such a short time? I mean, be reasonable. But it's within the etymology, the allegorical references of the Bible that were not meant to be taken literally, but allegorically. One of the best books on the subject is called Irish Wisdom Preserved in Bible and Pyramids by Conor McDarry, which covers in detail the process of hijacking a civilization. Sometimes this might be confusing to people new to this subject, and a typical response is that some people immediately visualize the modern day Irish people, which sure, many from Ireland with Rh negative bloodlines are connected to this, but what we're really discussing is the ancient land of Ireland and her peoples. Interestingly, this is where Atlantis connects. Remember, I'm explaining this to a Charlie-like mind, so that immediately sends alarm bells ringing when I say the word Atlantis. But what we're discussing is the progression of civilization. We're told of an east to west movement of civilization, that advanced societies began to rise in Sumeria, Mesopotamia, and Egypt 5,000 years ago, and then slowly migrated to the west over time. But with Tartaria, we're discussing how civilization progressed from west to east, meaning from Atlantis. Here's a quote from Donnelly. I'm not going to read it all, but yes, this is proof that people have been talking about what I just told you for over 200 years. And no, that doesn't mean that all the claims are true, but it does mean I'm not just pulling this out of nowhere. There is a foundation to all of these thoughts, some of which are too extensive to explain in a short video. The point is, after the deluge, or the flood, there were survivors who landed in Ireland and re-established civilization. Now let's get the whole Aryan thing out of the way, because many are automatically programmed to see that word in a certain light. These people were multicultural, and we know this because Aryan did not refer to race. In Sanskrit, it referred to one of honor, a wise man. This gets into the ancient history of Ireland, with the Tuatha De Danann and the Fomorians, who after a time of cataclysm had to settle and begin setting up new kingdoms. Now, there is proof to show this, but again, history is so mixed up because the people who set it into motion swapped locations, names, and dates to make it even more confusing. For example, the Phoenicians. This is another subject of Tartaria that we bring up a lot because it also causes a lot of confusion, but it was designed that way. The Phoenicians are the later Canaanites, but they're also the first civilization credited to creating an alphabet, mathematics, and advanced sea navigation. While many researchers have shown the connections between the ancient Phoenicians and the Celts, including the similarity between Gaelic and Semitic languages, mainstream history will say that this is because the Phoenicians settled in Ireland and that the Celts came from their culture. But the difference in art, culture, and oral legend in Ireland is unlike any other in the world, and some of the first megalithic structures were created in Ireland with astrological associations thousands of years before the pyramids. As presented in Irish Wisdom and Bible and Pyramids, the story is actually in reverse. The Phoenicians are the later Hebrews, those of the yew tree, or the corrupted version of the original spirituality. This is what we refer to as the Phoenician hijack, the process in which the old church, the Church of Iessa, or the early Phoenician or Phoenician Celtic Ibernian priesthood was destroyed, plagiarized, and then renamed, suppressed from history. These peoples were then hijacked and became the later Phoenicians, otherwise known as the Canaanites. They became the new church. This is the Holy Roman Empire. Pyramids, ancient Phoenicians. These people slowly migrated to the west, ringing when I say the word Atlantis. But what we're discussing, and yeah, I get it, but in order to understand Tartaria, we have to have that base. We're about to go down a rabbit hole of history that was not taught to us, so yes, that means there's going to be some things that you have to investigate for yourself, meaning there's no official answer. Keep that in mind, that this is just meant to be a summary, and I can only say so much on each subject. Okay, so let's start off with lost history and civilizations. So yeah, obviously you know about Atlantis, but there are other more recent cultures that were completely wiped and left out from the history books, being instead labeled as fantasy or mythology. One theory that was not started by us and actually has been discussed by several scholars since the 17th century is the Irish origins of civilization. And yeah, I get it, that might sound funny to people who have never heard it before, but there's actually a shocking amount of evidence to support that Gaelic and Irish Christianity is in fact the original church, and it was just straight up hijacked by the Roman Catholic Church. How do you expect me to give you proof for that in such a short time? I mean, be reasonable. But it's within the etymology, the allegorical references of the Bible that were not meant to be taken literally, but allegorically. One of the best books on the subject is called Irish Wisdom Preserved in Bible and Pyramids by Conor McDarry, which covers in detail the process of hijacking a civilization. Sometimes this might be confusing to people new to this subject, and a typical response is that some people immediately visualize the modern day Irish people, which sure, many from Ireland with Rh negative bloodlines are connected to this, but what we're really discussing is the ancient land of Ireland and her peoples. Interestingly, this is where Atlantis connects. Remember, I'm explaining this to a Charlie-like mind, so that immediately sends alarm bells ringing when I say the word Atlantis. But what we're discussing is the progression of civilization. We are told of an east to west movement of civilization, that advanced societies began to rise in Sumeria, Mesopotamia, and Egypt 5,000 years ago, and then slowly migrated to the west over time. But with Tartaria, we're discussing how civilization progressed from west.
There we go.
Hello.
Hello.
Nicholas?
Yes.
Yo, what's up?
I'm good. How are you?
All right.
All right. Do you want me to cut any certain way?
No.
If you could just cut your deck in half, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Yeah, same here.
Okay. Half. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Shuffle these. Let's see. Oof.
Okay.
If I mulligan, I reshuffle, right?
Yes, you just put it all in the deck and reshuffle.
Yeah, I'm gonna mulligan.
I'll keep it. Yes, yep.
Alright, let's cut this in half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Want to roll die?
Yeah,
High roll.
Yeah, high roll.
Okay. I got 1.
I got 2.
All right.
Guess I'm going first.
Okay. Good luck.
You too. All right. Fetch. Did your Agumon draw? Agumon X draw. Greymon for 2.
Okay. All right. Pop an egg. Draw. Digivolve for 0 to Gabu. Draw. Terrible. No, it is terrible. Just go ahead and drop Vilemon for 5. So you'll go to 3.
All right. Draw. Play. Nah. Play Agumon for 3. Did you up to Flame Dramon for 2? Draw.
Okay. All right. Draw. Go ahead and bring out Gabu. Let's go ahead and swing into security with Gabu for 2.
2, 8.
Okay. So deleted. He gets Demi Miramon's effect. Draw 1, discard 1. I'll go ahead and discard Fly Bullet. And 2. I'll go ahead and play Gazimon for 3. Put you at 1.
Draw. Let's play Agumon. EV2.
Okay. All right. Draw. Hatch. Spend 4. Put you at 2. Go ahead and play Eisbon.
Okay. Turn draw. I'll just promote. Swing at security for 7k and draw 1 for Koroma.
Okay, I'll take that. Kaitis Breath, activate, return. Go ahead and return that one to your hand.
The green one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the rest is deleted.
Then
so I'm at 4.
Digivolve Agumon to Agumon X. Draw. Effect. 1, 2, 3. Green one. Draw. Digivolve. Yeah, this is from last turn. Digivolve for 1 to this green one. Swing 7k again. Security.
Okay. All right. Miss Memory Boost. So just place it in my battle area.
And we will Digivolve to Metal Greymon for 4. We'll pop Gazimon.
Okay. 3. All right. Draw. Go ahead and swing into security with Eisbon for 4k.
You're good.
Okay. Just got those. Okay. Spend 1, go to 2, calling from the darkness, gonna delete Eisbon to put Gabumon and Gazi in my hand. An Eisbon effect, draw 3, discard 2. 1, 2, 3. Discard Nailbone. Nailbone.
Okay.
4. 2. These are in my hand. Digivolve for 0 to Gabumon. Draw. Go ahead and pop the Miss Memory Boost. So I'll gain 2 memory, go to 4.
That's it.
And let's go ahead and play Beostarmon, which is 8, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so 8. So you'll go to 4, and I will fly bullet on your the suspended one. And that is it for me.
Draw. Catch. Evolve. Draw. Pokemon X. Draw. Evolve for 2 into Black Greymon. Draw. Then Digivolve for 3 into Metal Greymon. V1. Draw.
Okay. Draw. Bring out Gabu. Go ahead and swing into security with Beostar, 11k.
2k, you're good?
Okay. Let's go ahead and swing with Gabu as well for 2.
2k?
Okay. So Demi Maramon's effect, draw 1, discard 1. Discard Cocytus. Three, put you at 2. Go ahead and play Gazi. That's it for me.
2k. Draw. Okay. Let's see. Remote Metal Greymon. Let's see. We will play Cool Boy for 2. Up 3. No hits. Then Digivolve to Metal Greymon. X Antibody. Gain 1. Draw 2. Okay, let's see. I'll swing, so right now I'm at 1, 2, plus 3, 5. I'm at 12.
Okay.
I'll swing over Beostar and draw for Koromon.
Okay.
See. What do I do? Swing 7 at security.
Okay. Cocytus Breath. Return the X to your hand, and then delete the rest.
Then let's Digivolve for 4 and pop the Gazimon.
Okay. Gazi. Alright. Draw. Spend 4. Play Kiyoshiro, Memory Tamer. And spend 3. Play Gazi.
Catch. We'll just Digivolve to the Metal Greymon X. Draw, gain 1. And we'll play Doric. Let's see, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As for 3, we'll pop the blocker.
Okay. Wait, how much did that cost?
That costed 3. Did you cross for 5? 1, 2, 3, 4. 5.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then we will Digivolve to Black War Greymon to pop the Kiyoshiro. And then end of turn Flame Dramon effect. We will Digivolve into Ragnalor. Draw, and then Ragnalor pops
the Gazi
and the 2 security left, and then it blitzes for game.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Good game, jeez.
Yeah. Lucky.
There's an egg. Yeah, that's all those.
Okay.
I'll go first this time. You want me to just cut half?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, you can do the same. Half. 5. Oh, I will mulligan.
Keep it.
All right. Half.
All right.
Draw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
All right. Good luck.
Good luck.
Pop an egg. I'll just go ahead and play Kyushiro for 4.
Alright. Draw. Fetch. Digivolve. Draw. Let's play Cool Boy for 2. Top 3. No hits. Play Agumon. Go to 3.
Alright. Draw. We'll spend 5, just drop Biomon. And that's it for me.
Draw. Promote. Digivolve for 2. Draw. Swing 8K and draw 1 for Koromon.
2K, Gazi.
Digivolve for 2. Draw.
Go to 3. Draw. Man, definitely not a great hand. Let's just play Flight Bullet for 7. Put you at 4 on the suspended Digimon.
Draw. Catch. Digivolve. Draw. Play Agumon for 3. Top 4 cards. Dinosaur. Just green one. Or Gaomon. Let's see. Swing 8.
Okay. 15K.
Digivolve for 2. Your turn. Draw.
Alright. Draw. Let's see. Just 1. Yeah. Digivolve for 0 to Gazi. Draw. Oh my goodness. Beostar. Just -1, so it's going to be 11. So you'll go to 8, and I'll play Fly Bullet on the one you have on the field.
Okay.
And that's it for me.
play Agumon X for 3. Top 3, we'll get Greymon. Yeah, screen. Digivolve for 2. Draw. Digivolve for free. Greymon. Game 1, draw 1. Digivolve for 4. Draw. And I'll just Digivolve down. Down here for 3. 2, 3. Yeah.
Draw. Let's go ahead and bring out Gazi. Go ahead and swing in security of Beal Star for 11.
11. You're good.
Okay. Three. Go ahead and spend 7. Play Fly Bullet. Give you 4.
4, and then I'll use the only protection I have.
Okay.
Alright. That's it. Draw. Okay. We will just Digivolve for 4. Draw. We'll pop pop the tamer.
Okay.
Then we'll swing over Biostar. Okay.
Okay.
Restand for deleting something and swing over Gazimon.
You can swing over?
Yes, it has the.
Oh yeah, it's black. It's black. Yeah. I know which one it is. Demi Maramon's effect. Draw 1, discard 1. Discard Kaitis. Four.
And then we'll just play Metal Greymon. But if I have a Tamer in play, I gain 5 memory. I mean 2 memory, so I'll be playing him for 5.
Okay. So that put me at
5.
You said cost 5. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay. All right. Draw. Pop. I will Fly Bullet on your War Greymon. the black or green one. That's it for me. I'll put you at 2.
Okay. Draw. Okay, we will Digivolve to Metal Green Man X antibody, draw, effect of Cool Boy, draw 1. We'll swing 2 checks at 11k.
I'll block with Vile.
Okay, and then this Metal Green Man effect, I gain a memory.
Okay.
I'll just play Flame on for 5, give you 1.
Okay. Draw. Do Nailbone for 7. I'll put you at 6. Out. Valmont and Ghazi.
Okay. Right. Draw.
That's, yeah, it's for me.
Let's see. All right, let's try this. Promote. Let's try Dorvik. Put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's for 3, 2. Let's see. We'll pop the blocker, Gazim. No, just a blocker.
Yeah. Okay.
Then we'll Digivolve for 5. Go to 3, draw, and end of turn Ragna effect. Oh, pop the Gazimon and trash. Yeah, just two securities.
Okay.
Alright. And then blitz for a lot.
Ice Wall. Gain 2 memory.
Okay. Extend.
Alright. Draw. And game. Good game.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Yeah, I had to wait for that.
Alright, let me report. Let's see. There it is. All right, reporting. All right, thank you so much. Good luck.
Thank you. Good luck with the rest of your games.
to east, meaning from Atlantis. Here's a quote from Donnelly. I'm not going to read it all.
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
What's up?
How'd you do? I just went into your YouTube channel.
Oh, it was on YouTube?
Yeah, you're live streaming on YouTube right now.
Damn, I didn't know.
I was talking right now.
Alright, cool. Who's, huh? What'd you say? Derek, what'd you say? Hello? Derek?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay. You know what? I have your YouTube channel up, and it's like doing an echoey voice because let me exit the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So it's very distracting.
Let me see.
Yeah. How are you so far in the tournament?
2-0.
But yes, this is
Nice.
proof that people have been
I just
talking
lost a
about
black
what I
war
just
gray.
told you for over 200 years.
That's what I'm
And
playing.
no, that doesn't mean that all the claims are
Nice.
true, but it does mean I'm not just pulling this out of nowhere. There is a foundation to all of these thoughts, some of which are too extensive to explain in a short video. The point is, after the deluge, or the
Is there a
flood,
reason you're playing this in
there
your
were
stream?
survivors who landed in Ireland and re-established civilization.
There's no reason. I'm just watching.
Now let's get the whole Aryan thing out of the way,
Gotcha,
because
gotcha.
many are
Lots of intel.
automatically programmed to see that word in a certain light. These people were multicultural, and we know this because Aryan did not refer to race.
What are you playing?
In Sanskrit,
The
they
same
refer
deck.
to one of honor, a
Frontier's
wise
Climax.
man. This gets into the ancient history of Ireland, with the Tuatha De Danann.
Yeah, it was the same one from last time.
After a
Yeah.
time of cataclysm,
Any
had to settle and
updates?
begin setting up new kingdoms.
Yeah, I just changed just a few cards.
Now, there is proof to show this, but again, history is so mixed up because
you're
the
1-1?
people who set it into motion
Yeah.
swapped locations,
What'd you win against?
names, and dates to
I
make
won
it
against
even more
Sekon.
confusing.
Oh,
For example, the
Nice.
Phoenicians.
Yeah,
This is
first
another
game it's
subject
like,
of
oh my
Tartaria that we
gosh, he
bring up
almost
a
decked
lot
me out
because
second
it also
game.
causes a lot of
Jesus.
confusion.
This is
but
like
was
it's weird
designed
because
that
against
way.
Black War Gray, I took the
Over
first
1
game
million
so
people
easily,
in over 148
and then like the
countries
next
around
two
the
games
world
he
follow
takes
me
it
for
so
stock
easily.
market predictions. And I'm here today to give you the same warning I just gave them. You have 90
it
days
depends
to
on luck,
move your money.
I guess.
It does.
The
Like I just like
Phoenicians are
set
the
game
later
2, I only
Canaanites,
had like
but they
no
were
level
also the first
6s.
civilization
I just like
credited to creating
my
an
security was
alphabet,
not good at all.
mathematics, and advanced sea navigation.
I'll
While
send
many
you a
researchers
video.
have shown the connections
Of
between
what?
the ancient
What I use for
Phoenicians
luck.
and the Celts, including the similarity
Okay.
between Gaelic and Semitic languages,
Got it.
mainstream history will say that this is because the Phoenicians settled in Ireland and that the Celts came from their culture. But the difference in art, culture, and oral legend in Ireland is unlike any other in the world, and some of the first megalithic structures were created in Ireland with astrological associations thousands of years before the pyramids. As presented in Irish Wisdom and Bible and Pyramids, the story is actually in reverse. The Phoenicians are the later Hebrews, those of the yew tree, or the corrupted version of the original spirituality. This is what we refer to as the Phoenician hijack, the process in which the Old Church, the Church of Iessa, or the early Phoenician or Phoenician Celtic Iberian priesthood was destroyed, plagiarized, and then renamed, suppressed.
Is there a
from
chat room
history.
in DXN? Oh, no,
These
there
peoples
isn't.
were then hijacked and became the later Phoenicians, otherwise known as the Canaanites. They became the new church. This is the Holy Roman Empire. The proof is in the language, culture, oral histories, and the forgeries that are within the Bible, as presented by Connor McDarry. The facts presented in that book are undeniable and seen clearly with anyone who has a basic understanding of Irish history. So to explain that in a different way, after the fall of Atlantis, the survivors landed in ancient Ireland. This civilization began to mingle with a variety of other cultures, producing similar legends, traditions, and sciences that were spread across the world. They then made their way to the east and into the Indus Valley. Then the start of Mesopotamian cultures or Arya cultures such as Sumeria or Arya, and then this continued into Tartaria or Asia. Essentially, in our research, we connect the Tartarians to the ancient Scythians. This is referenced by several 18th century historians, And the Scythians were the Celts who had traveled east. But again, they tell us the story in reverse. The term Tartar is actually a Gaelic term that is associated with the story of an Irish soldier far out east catching a Tartar, a thief. The reason we bring up Ireland is because there are many researchers who have covered the suppressed history of the ancient Celts and Druids. The Druids were literally the main enemy of the Roman Empire. They were described as savages and barbaric, yet the history that we receive on them come from the Roman historian Josephus himself. So, after Atlantis, the Church of Iessa was established in Ireland and expanded all the way to the Bering Strait, where they actually crossed over and established colonies on the northwest of America as depicted on old maps. The map that you're looking at is the Monte map from 1587. There's some really interesting things on this map, but you can see that there are 3 massive cities in Florida during this time and also elsewhere throughout the US that really shouldn't be on this map. There are also maps that show massive amounts of architecture all over Asia and Africa that are no longer there. And this does not align with the official narrative of that time period. Now, over time, many different nations and cultures were formed. It wasn't just the Irish, and each of these colonies were allowed to start up their own nations. What was originally a system of spiritual allegory with the intention of creating humans with a sense of morality, with a pursuit of working for a higher self, began to become abused by certain states, and this led to the creation of religion. The confusing part is that we have been fed false timelines since our birth. For example, Rome. Just as we mentioned some inconsistencies with Pompeii, there are many more to consider. One of the most popular points to bring up in the Tartaria community is the works of Flamenco. He's a scholar who has written on the subject of false chronologies and presents the idea that Rome may have added 1,000 years to the timeline in order to extend their power over history. This gets into one of the main chronologers that is responsible for our modern day timeline, Josephus Scaliger, or what we know as Scaligerian
Hey,
history.
son, I'm gonna. Maybe
What's
I'll go into
interesting
DX
is
and
that
chat
the
and see
people
if I can get
responsible for
others
our
to
modern
join.
day chronology were actually religious
fine.
fanatics attempting to condense all of human
Yo,
history
I don't know
into
how
a
many people are playing
5,000
today,
year
though. That's the
time
thing.
period. Many historical
know.
figures throughout time have
We'll see.
argued for alternative versions of
Well,
this
you don't have to talk
chronology,
to me, man. I'm
including
just
Isaac
streaming.
Newton.
No problem.
Flamenco's
Talk
work
to you later.
is quite detailed, showing a number of inconsistencies in dates, historical figures, and dating of major events that have been altered to fit a specific narrative. This isn't conclusive or anything, but definitely interesting to mention. But not only was our calendar system altered in the creation of the Roman Church, but on top of that, they began using a J for a 1. This can be seen in many old plaques, coat of arms, and even buildings, but no one knows why they did this. It just seems to be some type of brotherhood reference to the phantom time hypothesis, that the Roman Church falsified the extent of her rule. Interestingly, J is the 4th least used letter in the modern English alphabet, yet it's said to have been created in the 16th century. But then why do so many biblical names start with a J? There are hundreds, including Jesus, James, Jeremiah, and it all comes from the Roman Bible. Why so many names with a J, and how many translations is that for a letter that was born in the 16th century in a book that was supposedly written 1,000 years prior? We bring this up because Flamenco specifically points out how the J was also used in dating documents, buildings, and art. It was a method in which they could falsify history through forgery and plagiarism. Again, we're not the ones to come up with this. There's mountains of research to go through on this subject of the Roman Catholic Church and forgery. You'll have to investigate that further if you're looking for your evidence, as we're dealing with history that has been handed to us by royal elites. For example, with Pliny the Younger and Pliny the Elder, and some other famous historians from this era who are also responsible for our perspective of history, well, the earliest traces of these documents come from the 15th century. The first Pliny epistles were published in Italy 1471. There's no real first copy of Pliny the Elder, but there are none prior to 1400s. History can be easily forged, especially when we're discussing a period in which the Roman Church still had power over all of Europe and then secretly moving her power into the Venetian families? Don't you think it's weird that the Romans had all this amazing technology and then somehow they just lost it? Concrete, aqueducts, paved roads, realistic sculpture, indoor flush toilets, greenhouses, and advanced architecture that we really couldn't even do today with modern technology. Yet somehow this was just all forgotten and then we went through a dark age for 1500 years? Then out of nowhere, literally, we have a shocking amount of progression of art, music, and literature, all coming from around the 17th century. Before that, there are very few examples, and their dates are questionable.
Want to have a side hustle bringing you an additional income stream, but you don't want to have to build websites or sales funnels, create videos, or learn how to master paid advertising? If you want to truly have something that can work without having to become an expert in anything, then this video is for you. I'm going to show you a no BS way for you to start receiving $5,000 checks payable to you by helping me grow one of my online businesses. And you're going to be able to do this without having to get tripped up by any of the things in the past that might have held you back. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with wanting to gain a skill set. I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that the reason I've been able to profitably spend millions of dollars in paid advertising and generate tens of millions of dollars in online sales is because I became an expert myself over the past 10 years. Although it was challenging, it was worth it. But if I had to start all over again, I would not choose that path at first, knowing what I know now. You see, there is a way with modern...
The point being is that there's a huge gap between the time of Rome, through the Dark Ages, to all of a sudden all our music, art, and literature appearing out of nowhere during the Renaissance period. That doesn't make sense, and you don't just start making music like Beethoven out of nowhere in the 17th century. Same thing for all these Renaissance artists coming out of Italy. Not only was history and buildings hijacked, but art, culture, and music as well. There is proof to show that many of these old European churches were not actually designed to be churches, and that some of these old world buildings were designed to take in energy from the atmosphere. Where's the proof? Well, there are books on this subject. It's called Atmospheric Electricity. And yes, they were investigating how to harness this energy far before that story that they tell us in school of Benjamin Franklin discovering the electrical nature of lightning. Like, they really played us for a joke. He flew a kite with a key on it. Guys, this is Freemasonic symbolism. Benjamin Franklin was literally at the highest rank of Masonry, and you can even see the compass integrated with this famous painting. These old world buildings had technologies that were capable of extracting electricity from the atmosphere. You can even see these at the top of steeples. This is typically seen to be just a compass, but they're more than just that. There are videos of old temples with this technology still active. These electrical charging centers were then converted into physical worship centers. Now that might be a little too fast, so let's slow down a bit and just speak facts. Throughout history, architecture has often been a target during times of war. Buildings would indeed be hijacked and repurposed to serve the needs of the conquering force. From ancient temples turned into churches to palaces converted into military barracks, the theft of architecture has had a huge impact on many societies. Almost all Catholic churches in history were built on old pagan temples. For example, several were supposedly converted into Christian churches during the 5th century AD. The Parthenon in Athens, the Temple of Jupiter in Rome, the Temple of Baal in Syria, the Temple of Artemis in Ephesus, and there are many more, but all of these were converted into Christian churches, showing how old world buildings were repurposed for a new agenda. It demonstrates how theft of architecture has been a recurring theme throughout history. But not only that, another aspect is iconoclasm, which is the destruction of religious images and symbols. Iconoclasm is a form of religious violence that has been used throughout history to destroy the past. One example of this is with the Huguenots, who were a group of French Protestants in the 16th and 17th centuries. The Huguenots were known for their iconoclastic tendencies, which led to the destruction of many Catholic churches and religious artifacts. During the Wars of Religion in France, the Huguenots targeted Catholic churches, destroying statues, paintings, and other religious artifacts. This was done in an attempt to cleanse the churches of what they saw as idolatrous symbols and to make them more in line with Protestant beliefs. Now, let's get really deep for a second. Some of you may be thinking, well, okay, so what happened to these Tartarians or ancient Irish civilizations? Obviously, there's no direct source for that question, so we're going to have to do some exploring. The next area we must explain when it comes to Tartaria is cataclysm. For some reason, this isn't something that gets a lot of attention in history class, but the medieval writers were constantly talking about cataclysms. And we're not talking about the flood of Atlantis, we're discussing cataclysms of fire and of earth, as described by Plato's Timaeus. Timaeus is Plato's most prized work, where he details the cycle and resets of multiple past civilizations, not just Atlantis. And knowing what we know now, it's possible that the work of Timaeus is actually from the 16th century and not from 2,000 years ago, which would bring an entirely different context to the story. All we know is that there have been several recent cataclysms, including several that are associated with comets in America. We have a few videos discussing this, even evidence to support that the Great Lakes in America were actually created in the 1600s. These cataclysms are important because it shows the civilization has gone through several resets. The most recent one that has had the most impact seems to be the War of 1812, which again not only had one of the largest earthquakes in history, but there was an 1812 comet as well.
This changes everything we know about what really causes toenails to be thick, discolored, and cracked. Most people have been brainwashed by the medical establishment into thinking that this is a highly complex issue to fix on their own, so they end up resigning themselves to prescription antifungal medications that don't work.
There's evidence to suggest that there was massive flooding all around the world in recent times, including mud floods. Many buildings and structures around the world that we see in the modern day, and even in downtown areas, seem to be in fact buried buildings, obscured by layers of mud and sediment. The idea of mud flood is that there was a series of floods that swept across the old world, burying entire towns and cities throughout Europe and America beneath layers of mud and debris. Now, to most people hearing that for the first time, that might sound ridiculous, but there is evidence to suggest that it may in fact be true. One strong argument is that in archaeology, there are ancient sites called tells, which is a mound consisting of accumulated debris and natural sediment. They are buried cities. Another argument, as we mentioned, is that many old world buildings, particularly those from the 17th to 19th centuries, have basements that extend far below the ground. These basements are often not visible from the surface, and yet they contain windows and doors that lead to nowhere. Also, let's not forget the countless accounts from ancient texts and legends that describe massive floods and cataclysmic events that swept across the old world. A manuscript called the Book of Miracles describes several cataclysms in detail, but it makes a very interesting point. They claim that these were not natural disasters, but disasters that were the work of a higher power, which goes to show that they were consciously created to some degree. Now, what you're about to hear is controversial, but there's always been a fascination with the Ark of the Covenant. These Canaanites had control of a very powerful weapon that is beyond the technology that we have today. It is said to be a weapon of mass destruction, and no, I don't think it has anything to do with aliens. If you ask me, it would seem that we're dealing with some black magic that involves the conscious creation of cataclysms. That might be a little too far in the deep side of the pool, so I'll come back a bit. But magic does come to play here, and no, we're not talking sorcery and fantasy magic. We're talking about how every royal court had an astrologer and master alchemist. They were not only trying to make predictions, but to force them to manifest through mass rituals. Obviously that's conjecture, but it's important to consider that it may have been possible through ritual or some type of unknown technology to influence the atmosphere or conditions in which produce certain cataclysmic conditions. The New Madrid earthquakes during the 1812 period were the most intense recorded in American history. The extent of its damage is still not really known, yet there are clear indications in the modern day, and even in our scarce photographic record, we see photos in the late 1800s of them digging cities out of the mud. Why were all the streets made out of dirt and horse poop when the Romans had paved streets? Why was there no proper waste management in the United States until after the 1900s? Well, it's because they found these cities and had no idea how to operate them. They came in and started putting waste and water into a single pipe, many of which were old water tunnels for drainage. And what happened? Great stinks. Massive cholera epidemics all over the United States, all the way into the late 19th century? Doesn't add up how they were building all this grand architecture from Civil War forts, otherwise known as star forts, all the way to massive mansions from the Gilded Age. Yet, they had no bathrooms or plumbing systems? This gets into some other deep subjects such as the diet and spiritual capabilities of these prior inhabitants, but much of that information will be too much for most of you new to the subject. These star forts or Civil War forts, have you been to one? One of the most massive one is in Pensacola on a beach. Good luck explaining how they went about building that on soft sand in the early 1800s. But forgetting that, they had these all over the East Coast and even in San Francisco. Yet the explanation is that they were built during the Civil War era to protect America's coast? But this isn't true, as many of these forts are actually based on older forts supposedly, and there were massive forts being constructed by the Spanish and French when they first arrived as well. Although, the museums like to make you think that they were just building wooden presidios. The entire story of the colonization of America is a fabrication. We're told the story that these countries such as Spain, France, and England were all fighting each other in the pursuit of the colonization of America. Yeah, but who were they working for? Who funded these projects? Well, they were all under control of the Holy Roman Church. The proof is in the coat of arms. What do you think a coat of arms is? Type in the Triumphal Arch of Maximilian, which is a 16th century woodcut showing you all the Roman-controlled minions. This is one huge royal bloodline operation, and that is the history that we receive. These Civil War forts or bastions or star forts were already in America, and every major European ancient city was once a fortified city. That's the secret of Amsterdam and Paris. They are massive star forts. Star forts contain multiple layers, including an underground tunnel system. You can see many of these European star forts on many 16th century maps, showing that they weren't just bastions used